So I'm Jen Foster. I'm a singer-songwriter living in Nashville, Tennessee, but I'm originally from Texas. Actually, I was kind of forced out of the closet. Um, I was kind of busted by my mom. Um, I was in bed with someone and I forgot to lock the door. You know, little teenage slumber party. And so this beautiful naked redheaded girl was sort of on top of me, and then in comes my mother, and she was like, breakfast is ready. And then she shut the door, and my friend freaked out and threw her clothes on and left. And then I went down to breakfast, and it was a very tense breakfast, very, very quiet. We ate, and then we went to church that Sunday, and we got home, and my mother said, your father and I would like to talk to you in the living room. And of course my heart was racing. It was, you know, you're young, it's kind of terrifying. I was very, very sort of intimidated by my dad at that point in my life. So anyway, we went to the living room, and Mom just literally sat across from me and asked me if I was gay. And I denied it. I was scared because I thought if I tell her, my life as I know it is done. And, you know, I won't be able to see my girlfriend anymore. She'll be banned. And so I was trying to lie about it, but I've never really been a great liar. So when she kept at it and kept interrogating me, I admitted it. And that's when, you know, my father kind of broke down. My mom asked me some more questions, and it was just a really tough thing to go through as a kid. You know, I felt like all my life, all I wanted to do was make them happy and make them proud of me. I think like most kids do. And so that at that moment, I knew I had seriously let them down. And I felt this weight, like I could just, all this stuff was going through my head. Like, I know my dad is thinking about, you know, never walking down the aisle with me in the way that he had imagined. To some degree, I knew they were thinking about what other people would think, because, you know, I grew up in Houston, Texas, in a really conservative, honestly Republican environment, and it was just not, in the late 80s, certainly that was not something that you talked about. I went to a Catholic school too, which that's a whole other story that's kind of intense. But so we got into it, and then I kind of broke down crying and left the room and went up to my bedroom and shut the door. And so I went up there and shut the door. I was crying. I was just, thoughts were going through my head. I was really upset. And then I hear this knock on the door, and my mom came into the room and sat down on the bed with me and put her arm around me and was like, "It's going to be okay, sweetheart." And I thought, oh, you know, this is nice. Maybe we can talk about this, you know. And then Mom said, "It's okay. We're going to get you some therapy." And, you know, at that moment, I just sort of thought, go with it and do the therapy, and maybe this therapist can somehow help me and my parents understand each other. Maybe somehow through talking to her, she can help explain this to my parents. Of course, that wasn't what my mother wanted, but I ended up getting into the therapy and going into it. And in the end, a few months later, basically, the therapist called my parents in and told them that we probably needed to start the process of talking about this and letting them come to terms with the fact that I was, in fact, gay. Because she really felt like I really was, that it wasn't just a phase. You know, and I don't know that I knew as a kid if I was or not. I don't think you always know what you are at 16 or 17, and I certainly understand the concerns about, oh, you're pigeonholing yourself, keep an open mind. These are the things I would hear people say. But I was still fairly certain that this was who I was, and this was the path that I was on. So anyway, I have to say, I absolutely feel so grateful for I love my parents, and this is something that happened, but it does not make them bad people, and that's huge for me to clarify that, because I had two of the best parents ever, and they really went down the road with me of working through it. As time went on, they welcomed my partners into the house, and they were very open, and I feel like it's not even an issue anymore. Of course, my mom unfortunately passed away in 2008 from cancer, but it was an amazing gift to be able to have that time with her, to get out all those feelings. We talked about everything. We got it all out on the table, resolved. I feel like we resolved most of it, and she let me know that she loved me just the way I was in the end, and that was amazing to have that experience. So my father's it's no big deal, Now it's no big deal to him, and but again, I think it's part of the times. Back then it was a little bit different, so it's getting. I can tell you for sure, it's getting progressively easier, but there's still challenges to be faced, and I think that doing things like the Tapestry Project and getting people to tell their stories is so important, to keep that presence there.
A little